Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Grab yourself a cup of tea and let's talk some boxing. Now, Dillian Whyte has responded to Charles Martin, him calling him out. This is what he had to say in response. Nothing he says worries me in the slightest. Ravings of a deluded fool. I think even the real Prince Charles would knock him out. So there we go, that is what Dillian Whyte has said in response to what Charles Martin said. Now, Charles Martin said if Dillian Whyte wants to come over to the US, then he will happily knock him out. Essentially, in other words, that is what he said to Dillian Whyte. So he would be happy to face him. He also explained what happened in the AJ fight. The fact that he wasn't ready, he was hurt going in. Typical excuses of a fighter who just wasn't good enough on the night. So Charles Martin seems to believe that he can take Dillian Whyte on, but Dillian Whyte does not seem to believe he is of his level. Is there any chance that this one could happen? Well, at the moment we are being led to believe that Dillian Whyte will likely fight someone along the lines of Trevor Bryan or Jermaine Franklin. Those were the names put out there by Eddie Hearn for his next fight in the US. Now, there are other names out there. One that does come to mind is definitely Andy Ruiz Jr. I mean, that's a name we would all like to see Dillian Whyte face. I'm not entirely convinced that that one will happen next, especially given the opponent they are currently looking at. I believe that Dillian Whyte is more focused now on getting a world title opportunity, because if not now, then when is that going to happen? So it's like Dillian Whyte has to be smart at this stage and not necessarily go for the tough 50-50 fights. I mean, he might end up in one in his next contest, but that is not guaranteed. What he needs to do is ensure that late this year or 2022, he is fighting in a world title fight, whether it be against Trevor Bryan, whether it be against Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. But that must happen now for Dillian Whyte, because he's 34? So he's not old, but he doesn't want to be giving his best years to fighting 50-50 fights and not having that world title chance. That must come at some point. Now, there is no shame in fighting 50-50 fights back to back. He's done that time and time again, and that is brilliant, giving value for money for British fight fans and fight fans around the world. But at some point, he does have to do something for himself, because his ambition is to become a world heavyweight champion. And it seems like by taking those tough challenges, he hasn't been rewarded in that sense. Then you look at someone like Charles Martin, then you look at someone like Dominic Breazeale. Charles Martin became a world champion by default, but who did he really beat to get that opportunity? Then there is Dominic Breazeale, had a world title chance against AJ, had a few comeback fights. I mean, they were mildly entertaining, and I guess they were kind of domestic level in America, but still, he got a world title opportunity based off of that. Yet Dillian Whyte was fighting the likes of Joseph Parker, former world champion, Oscar Rivas, undefeated challenger. Fights like that, Alexander Povetkin as well, Derek Chisora, who's tough for anyone. I mean, look at the performance he put in against Joe Parker and Usyk. Yes, he lost, narrow decisions, but he has proven he can give trouble to those guys at the top. Dillian Whyte has those victories, yet still his opportunity has eluded him. So I think we'll all agree, no one is going to blame him for taking the route that will lead him towards a world title opportunity. Whether it's Jermaine Franklin, I mean, I don't really see what he gains from facing someone like that. Yes, he's undefeated, but he's not well known, and he hasn't beaten anyone of note. So I wouldn't really fancy seeing that one. But a Trevor Bryan fight, now that could be interesting. I think that one does open up a few opportunities for Dillian Whyte. Of course, Ruiz is there. Of course, I would rather see that one. But I don't see that one happening next. I don't even think it really works for Ruiz, given his performance last time. I mean, who would you expect to win that one? Based on their last performances, we're going to pick Dillian Whyte over Ruiz, based on their last performance. So, given that, I cannot see that one happening next. Trevor Bryan is a good opportunity, WBA regular champion, so that also gives him an opportunity to face Anthony Joshua down the line. It puts him on that route. Also, what it does is it gives him an opportunity to perhaps face someone like Daniel Dubois. Now, I know that Daniel Dubois is not someone who's on the world scene. He had that fight against Joe Joyce, which was too soon. Well, not too soon, but he didn't have the necessary fights to get him ready for that point. So it wasn't necessarily just because it was too soon for him. It was just he needed that in-between fight, the one he did not have, to learn how to adjust in fights when things are not working, and when something like that hard, stiff jab keeps landing, and he needs to find a way to overcome that obstacle. And he just wasn't able to do it, but he will learn from it going forwards. Now, he is in line to likely get a chance at Trevor Bryan. Now, I would expect that one to actually happen ahead of Whyte versus Trevor Bryan, but looking at it from Trevor Bryan's point of view, Dillian Whyte is the better route to go. He's going to earn a lot more money, and it's high risk, yes, but high reward. And Daniel Dubois beats Trevor Bryan anyway, in my opinion. Dillian Whyte, I believe, obviously beats Trevor Bryan. So if he is going in there and he is not the favourite, he might as well earn himself some money along the way. Whyte can provide that for him. So the two opponents that Eddie Hearn has listed for Dillian Whyte at the moment, Bryan and Franklin, I see it being more likely Trevor Bryan versus Daniel Dubois, and I'm not entirely convinced that Dillian Whyte will face Jermaine Franklin. That could well happen, but I don't really see that as a meaningful fight for Dillian Whyte. Of course, as I said, he needs to get his world title chance, and I guess if he remains in the situation he's currently in, he should be called as mandatory to Tyson Fury or whoever holds that WBC belt next year. But still, given what has happened in the past, you have to wonder, will that actually happen? It should do, but it should have done in the past, and it still hasn't. So Whyte does have a decision to make. Does he stay loyal to the WBC in the hope that in a year's time he's going to get a world title opportunity, or does he start looking at maybe going a WBA route or a different route entirely, maybe even Filip Hrgović in perhaps an IBF eliminator, but he would have to vacate his WBC interim title to get ranked by the IBF, which means he gives up the opportunity of becoming mandatory next year. But that does then mean he can get ranked by other governing bodies and perhaps work towards a title opportunity against Anthony Joshua. Coming back to Charles Martin, because that is what we were originally supposed to be talking about, coming back to him, that could be another avenue that he explores. Charles Martin is ranked very highly. In fact, I believe he's number 1 in the IBF. So if Dillian Whyte is able to beat him, then that could give him some good opportunities within that IBF ranking, especially given there is Hrgović around there as well. So there are opportunities for Dillian Whyte, Charles Martin, Jermaine Franklin, Trevor Bryan. Charles Martin isn't a name we've heard too much linked with Dillian Whyte, but now with this back and forth, maybe that can happen after he has expressed interest in facing Dillian Whyte. And we've seen in the past, if someone calls his name, then he's going to go and face them. In America, that could happen for Whyte next. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.